Hello everyone, I'm Samuel Alexander, and let's be honest, talking about the economy is about as fun as a root canal without anesthesia. But much like that pesky root canal, ignoring the warning signs can lead to some seriously unpleasant consequences. We've been hearing whispers of a potential recession looming on the horizon, and while we're not here to sound the alarm bells, we are going to arm you with the knowledge you need to navigate the choppy waters ahead. So buckle up, grab your financial life vests, because we're diving headfirst into the economic indicators that might just give us a sneak peek into what 2025 has in store. Now, let's talk about interest rates, shall we? These seemingly small percentages have a massive impact on our daily lives, whether we realize it or not. They influence everything from the cost of our mortgages to the interest we earn on our savings accounts. But what exactly are interest rates, and why do they fluctuate so much? Those delightful little numbers that seem to have a mind of their own. They are essentially the cost of borrowing money. When you take out a loan, the interest rate determines how much extra you will pay back on top of the principal amount. Conversely, when you save money, the interest rate dictates how much your bank will pay you for keeping your money with them. You see, when the economy is booming, interest rates are like that one friend who keeps urging everyone to take it easy, slow down, maybe have a glass of water instead of another tequila shot. This is because, in a thriving economy, people and businesses are more likely to borrow and spend money, which can lead to inflation if left unchecked. That friend is the Federal Reserve, and the water is higher interest rates. The Federal Reserve, often referred to as the Fed, is the central bank of the United States. It has the crucial job of managing the country's monetary policy, which includes setting interest rates. By raising interest rates, the Fed aims to make borrowing more expensive, thereby cooling off excessive spending and borrowing. They hike these rates to combat inflation, which is essentially the economy getting a little too wild and prices spiraling out of control. Inflation erodes the purchasing power of money, meaning you get less bang for your buck. By increasing interest rates, the Fed hopes to slow down the economy just enough to keep inflation in check without causing a downturn. Think of it like this: the Federal Reserve is trying to cool down the economy's raging party, but sometimes in their attempt to take away the punch bowl, they accidentally end up toppling the entire snack table, leading to, you guessed it, a recession. A recession is a significant decline in economic activity that lasts for months or even years. It can lead to job losses, lower incomes, and a general slowdown in economic growth. It's a delicate dance, my friends, and one that requires a watchful eye. The Fed must carefully balance the need to control inflation with the risk of triggering a recession. It's a task that involves constant monitoring of economic indicators, making adjustments as needed, and sometimes even a bit of luck. So the next time you hear about interest rates in the news, remember the intricate balancing act that goes on behind the scenes to keep our economy stable. Let's move on to something equally riveting, shall we? The yield curve. Now, I know what you're thinking. The yield curve? Really? But trust me, this seemingly mundane topic holds the key to understanding some of the most critical movements in the financial world. Sounds thrilling, right? Well, bear with me because this seemingly boring topic is actually a pretty big deal. The yield curve is like a secret code that, when cracked, can reveal the future of the economy. It's not just a line on a graph, it's a powerful indicator that financial experts watch closely. Imagine the yield curve as a crystal ball, or maybe a really insightful magic 8-ball for Wall Street. It provides clues about what's coming next. When the yield curve is normal, it slopes upward, indicating that long-term interest rates are higher than short-term rates. This is a sign of a healthy, growing economy. It tracks the difference between short-term and long-term interest rates, and when it inverts, well, let's just say it sends shivers down the spines of investors everywhere. An inverted yield curve means that short-term interest rates are higher than long-term rates, which is unusual and often a harbinger of economic trouble. You see, typically, long-term investments yield higher returns because, well, you're locking your money away for longer. Investors expect to be compensated for the risk of tying up their money for an extended period, but when the yield curve inverts, it flips this expectation on its head. But when the yield curve inverts, it means investors are so nervous about the short-term future that they're willing to accept lower returns for long-term investments. This inversion is often seen as a signal that a recession is on the horizon. It's a sign that investors are seeking safety, and are worried about the immediate future. It's like choosing to eat stale bread today because you're worried there won't be any food tomorrow. This behavior reflects a lack of confidence in the near-term economic outlook. Investors are essentially saying, "I'd rather take a sure thing now than risk losing more later." Not exactly a vote of confidence in the future, is it? The yield curve inversion is a powerful signal that can influence everything from stock market performance to central bank policies. It's a reminder that in the world of finance, even the most seemingly boring topics can have profound implications. Now let's talk GDP growth, which is essentially a measure of how much the economy is producing and selling. Think of it as the economy's report card, and GDP growth is the GPA. When GDP is growing, it means businesses are thriving, people are spending, and the economy is generally in good shape. But when GDP growth slows down, it's like getting a needs improvement on that report card. And if we get 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, well, that's a failing grade, my friends, and it's the official definition of a recession. It's like the economy has caught a cold, and we're all reaching for the tissues and cough syrup. Chapter 4. Unemployment rates, the job market's crystal ball. Let's talk about unemployment rates. These numbers are more than just statistics. They are a reflection of the health of our economy and the well-being of our society. When we see low unemployment rates, it generally indicates that the economy is doing well. People have jobs, they are earning money, and they are able to spend on goods and services, which in turn fuels further economic growth. Low unemployment is generally a good sign. It means businesses are thriving and there is a demand for labor. This demand can lead to higher wages and better working conditions as companies compete to attract and retain employees. It means people are working, earning money, and contributing to the economy. When people have disposable income, they are more likely to spend on non-essential items such as dining out, entertainment, and travel, which further stimulates economic activity. But when unemployment starts to rise, it's like a canary in a coal mine. It signals potential trouble ahead. Rising unemployment can indicate that businesses are facing challenges, whether due to decreased consumer demand, increased competition, or other economic pressures. It's often one of the first signs that the economy is heading south. When companies start to struggle, they may cut back on production, reduce their workforce, or even close down entirely. This can lead to a domino effect, where the loss of jobs in one sector impacts other sectors as well. Think about it. When businesses start to struggle, what's one of the first things they do? They look for ways to reduce costs, and unfortunately, labor is often one of the biggest expenses. This can lead to hiring freezes, reduced hours, or layoffs. They cut back on hiring or, worse, lay off employees. This not only affects the individuals who lose their jobs but also has a ripple effect on the broader economy. When people are unemployed, they have less money to spend, which can lead to decreased demand for goods and services. And when people lose their jobs, they have less money to spend, which further slows down the economy. This can create a vicious cycle where decreased spending leads to further business challenges and more job losses. It's a vicious cycle, and one that we definitely want to avoid. By monitoring unemployment rates and understanding their implications, we can take proactive steps to support the economy and prevent a downward spiral. Whether through government policies, business strategies, or community initiatives, addressing unemployment is crucial for maintaining a healthy and vibrant economy. Chapter 5. Consumer spending, the engine that drives the economy. Now let's talk about consumer spending, which is, to put it simply, the backbone of the U.S. economy. When we spend money, we're essentially casting a vote of confidence in the economy. We're saying, hey, I'm feeling good about the future, so I'm going to buy that new TV, or finally book that vacation. Consumer spending is like the fuel that keeps the economic engine running. But when consumer confidence takes a hit, and we start to tighten our purse strings, well, the economy starts to sputter. It's like taking away the fuel that keeps the whole thing running. Chapter 6. Corporate earnings, a glimpse into the business world. Finally, let's talk about corporate earnings. These are essentially the profits that companies are making, and they can be a good indicator of overall economic health. When businesses are doing well, it means they're selling more products or services, which usually translates to more hiring, more investment, and a stronger economy. But when corporate earnings start to decline across multiple sectors, it can be a sign that businesses are facing headwinds. It's like a bunch of canaries in a coal mine all starting to chirp nervously at the same time. It's a sign that something might be amiss. Outro. So, are we doomed? Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The economy is a complex beast, and predicting its every move is about as reliable as a weather forecast in a hurricane. These indicators we've discussed, they're not foolproof. They're more like economic smoke signals, and it's up to us to interpret them. The good news is, forewarned is forearmed. By understanding these indicators, we can better prepare ourselves for whatever economic weather comes our way. So, should you be panicking? No. Should you be aware and prepared? Absolutely, because remember, in the immortal words of Douglas Adams, don't panic. And also, maybe invest in a really good umbrella. The future is not predictable. Thank you. Samuel Alexander, CEO of C2, C Fashion and Technology.